Welcome to the Horse Speak Book Club. I'm your host, Laura Wilsey, and we are embarking on a journey through the Horse Speak Trilogy. The Horse Speak team is dedicated to giving horses a voice and being their well-deserved advocates. We provide evidence-based knowledge of equine body language that is intrinsic, observable, and repeatable. We offer online courses, a weekly club where we analyze our members' videos from herd dynamics to riding, and we offer in-person clinics and online learning. Check us out at horsepeakacademy.com. This is a judgment-free zone. Everyone here has a varied horsemanship background, and we ask you to help keep the environment safe so no one feels shamed in any way. So here we are. Step 4, going somewhere. Luckily, the going somewhere part of the 4Gs of Horse Speak can be enacted simply, painlessly, and with great effectiveness, even across a fence or over a stall door. Going somewhere part 1, go away face button and play button. There is a button toward the back of the horse's cheek, which Sharon calls the go away face button. Horses use this button by either indicating toward it in the air or by directly nudging it. This is one of the first buttons Mama have taught her newborn foal. As we discussed in step 1, in horse speak, this button simply means move your face away from my bubble of personal space. Since horses have such long necks, it is not always necessary for a horse to move completely away from the spot he is standing in order to give another horse space. By simply yielding his face to the side, he can give adequate room for another horse to feel respected. You can see this bubble dance around horses' faces at the water tank, over a pile of hay being shared, or in man-made situations such as, there's sideshow entertainment, such as when horses are in harness together or tied near each other. In these scenarios, it may be feasible or possible for horses to actually move away from each other completely, so simply yielding headspace is enough to keep the peace. John Weaver, you really are doing bad things. For our purposes, knowing about this bubble is key to gaining a horse's respect for our own bubble of personal space, without necessarily requiring him to use his feet and step away. Pardon me, you can't tear up the whole roll of this. Dude, here. I've lost so many rolls of paper towels because of these kittens, so pardon me. Quiet on the set, please, sir. Since this is a button that all horses use, and it is in context with a calmer space claiming request, including it in horse speak taps into a horse's innate sense of calm conversations. The first step to asking a horse to engage in going somewhere is to simply use the go away face button and request that he move his face to the side, giving your bubble more space. Interestingly, horses that tend to be space invaders often have their muzzles or noses pushed away by their handlers, sometimes with a lot of force. However, the area between the mouth and the cheekbone, right above where the bit ring sits, is the play button. Horses will nudge and nip at each other's noses and muzzles to indicate they want to play. And so touching there indicates it is perfectly fine for them to invade your bubble of personal space. This major misunderstanding between our two species causes much frustration and even head shyness in our horses. By pushing on the play button, but intending to send the horse's face away, we end up frustrated with a horse that is doing exactly what we said he could do: invade our bubble and play games with us. So, Sherry?
Aim your hand higher up on his cheek directly under his eye and use a firm finger when you push the go away face button. This will get excellent results because the horse will understand what this means. Move his face over and keep it away from your bubble. When your horse is used to putting his face in your space, you will have to reinforce this button several times before he understands that you mean for him to give you space permanently. In contrast, if you push on the side of his mouth or nose, you will see that he swings his face into your bubble very soon after, ready to play. In some cases, a horse may be very defensive and pin his ears when you ask him to move his face away. If this happens, keep your distance for your own safety and use a crop with a soft end or a light item that swings, such as some baling twine. Go to the go away face button from a reasonable distance. As soon as your horse moves his head a little bit away, go to zero and leave. If a horse is this defensive, there are reasons. You do not want to enter into a pushing contest with a defensive horse, and you do not need to come at this phase with an improper attitude of needing to win, prove your boss, or any other aggressive feelings. He's already defensive, so it won't help to make him more defensive. Remind yourself that you are emulating his mother's first nudge, and that this button is so ingrained in horse speak that it has its own powerful meaning to him. Sharon has had incredible success with even violently defensive horses by staying at zero and repeating her request at regular intervals after the hello knuckle touch. As long as you thank him for complying in any way, let go and walk away once he has made even the smallest try. This button works miracles. The reason it can be so transformative is simple. You are not asking for any other parts of his body to yield space. You are quitting fast and returning to zero, which imitates how horses make requests. You are also using a very intimate button in horse speak. Remember, this is the button horses use for low impact, calm conversation in most cases. This button builds both trust and respect with very little effort on either side of the fence, and it will convince the horse that you are indeed trying to talk to him in horse speak. Scanning the horizon and sentry. Before you are ready to move the horse's front feet over and begin the ritual of going somewhere, excuse me, with the forehand, you need to advance the copycat game we learned about in the greeting ritual to the next level. Horses use a gesture I call scanning the horizon. This simply means that the alpha horse will look far and wide on occasion and decide if there are threats or not. At regular intervals in the day or anytime there's disturbance, her leaders will lift their heads high, stop chewing, perk their ears up, and sniff deeply. When one horse wants to encourage another to follow him or wants to reassure another horse that he is safe and all is well, the leader will scan the horizon for no real reason other than to prove to the weaker member of the herd that he's looking out for everyone and should be listened to. If all is clear, the horse simply lowers his head and returns to eating, often with a nose-clearing snort, which I'll discuss next. Sharon will discuss next. The advanced stage of scanning the horizon includes the act of sentry. Usually one horse plays sentry in a herd. This is a singular animal that makes the decision to run or not. The sentry will often be more dramatic in his assessment of the environment and include a loud blow through the nose in the direction of any disturbance. The sentry breath. The loud blow happens for a few reasons. First, this clears the nose of debris, so the horse can get a better sniff of whatever is out there. Second, the sound is startling to hear and causes the other horses to look up and pay attention while warning the potential threat that the sentry is on to them. We've already talked about the sentry breath in this book, blowing away the boogeyman, as Sharon calls it, making a loud blowing sound in the direction a horse is spooking at. And you may never know what it was the horse saw or smelled, so just assume that horse-eating squirrels are loose again. Causes the horse to believe you are alert to the environment and watching out for his well-being. Sharon has actually had horses at liberty come hide behind her after she blew away their boogeyman. After a horse blows the sentry breath, if all is clear, he will visibly relax by lowering his head, licking and chewing. This tells the herd that everything's fine. When you blow a sentry breath, you will need to return to zero too, and even pretend to chew gum to tell your horse that all is clear. Scanning the horizon and sentry breath are important to know about before you enter into the going somewhere ritual with a horse because staying safe is what horses value and are concerned about. A great deal of what horses talk about involves their safety, and the herd leaders spend a significant amount of time reassuring the other members of their ability to preserve peace in the band.
Thank you. Nancy?
Hold on, I'm getting there. Wait. Ah, okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Conversation. Are we there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Conversation. Scanning the horizon and sentry. Approach your horse and use a knuckle touch on the greeting button to check in or say hello. Visibly scan the horizon in one direction or another and use a sentry breath when you do. If you have been regularly playing copycat with your horse, he may look in the direction that you look in. Remember, horses are very subtle. He may only lean or cock an ear in response. Number 3, when you blow a sentry breath, your horse may really perk up its ears and stare hard at your boogeyman. 4, dramatically look back at your horse, chew gum, and even say out loud, all's clear, taking a moment to watch his response. It's not uncommon for horses to really release some tension at this moment, drooping their lips, letting their ears hang to the sides, lowering their heads, and yawning. Do not be surprised, however, if he suddenly looks off at a boogeyman everywhere. Your horse is really going to love the fact that you just told him that you will scan the horizon and take care of any perceived threat. You have just convinced him that you are up to the challenge of being his leader, which in his mind means you will protect him from the ills of this world. If you happen to be dealing with a very stoic horse who typically comes across as everyone's babysitter, you are offering him a well-deserved break from the stress of being the caretaker of all. If you are dealing with a very timid horse, he will show visible relief. He may even seem overwhelmed by it once you've told him in horse speak that you will watch his back. Going somewhere, part 2, the forehand. Respect in the horse's world is regard for one another's bubbles of personal space. Horses negotiate their comfort zones not by asking other horses to leave, but also by inviting others to come closer and share space. Earlier, Sherrod explored some of the sending messages horses use to define or defend their space, as well as beckoning messages expressed in the face. Like the face, the forehand also has a concentration of expressions that negotiate personal space. There are buttons on the neck, shoulder, and legs, which also effectively communicate sending and beckoning messages. Since the forehand is close to the front of the horse's bubble, messages can be empathetic and effective. Thresholds. For a horse, every single threshold, the point or level at which something begins or changes, is potentially dangerous. In the wild, the edges of things, such as tree lines, riverbeds, boulders, and crossroads, could be hiding predators waiting to pounce. For the horse, there is also not much difference between a natural threshold and a man-made one, such as a door or gate or the edge of a lane. Years of evolution have given him the reflexes to make a dash for it, should a shadow in a corner turn out to be a lion. Remember always, in the wild, it could be a lion, and those reflexes don't get shut off just because we find them inconvenient. When you enter into a ritual of going somewhere, keep in mind that in your horse's world, this means you are going to learn to travel in harmony together, and that you are offering to watch out for the shadows and thresholds, constantly giving him feedback that all is well, the way another horse would. Defining space with the front legs. Horses use their front legs to help define their space. A leg strike, for example, is an emphatic gesture that, that another horse is in their space and that it better back off. Stomping is an exclamation point to the request for space. Stomping also communicates disapproval. Some horses strike or strop on the cross ties or when asked to stand under saddle. Have you ever seen a horse scratching his head or mouth on his leg or kneecap? An equine acupuncturist taught Sharon that because main points of the leg meridians are along the leg, main points of the lung meridian are along the leg, endorphins are released when the kneecaps are rubbed or scratched. You might see foals nibbling at their mother's kneecaps or each other's kneecaps. When your horse dives forward to the ground to scratch his face on his leg and kneecap, there is more going on than him just having an itchy face. He is taking a moment to make himself feel better. Similarly, you can massage your horse's kneecaps to help him unwind after a performance. One horse can make another horse pick up a front foot by nibbling on the other's front leg chestnut. However, making another horse pick up a front foot can mean one of two completely different things. In one instance, the horse nibbling on the chestnut is trying to knock the other horse off balance. You can think of this as a game of King of the Hill. Sharon has seen geldings playing this, taking turns, almost bowing to each other, as one causes the front leg of the other to be picked up. The other conversation that happens with picking up the front feet is when a stallion nibbles on the front legs and chestnuts of a mare he wants to breed. Stallions often combine this with nibbling up and down the front legs, as well as licking the mare's legs. The objective for the stallion is to make sure the mare will keep all feet on the ground and not kick him when he mounts her. So there are two distinctly different objectives to the exact same gesture. One, to actually get the other horse to pick up a front foot in order to throw his balance off, and the other is to encourage the horse not to pick up the front foot, but instead to stay balanced with all 4 feet on the ground. When you pick up a horse's foot, you can draw two completely different conclusions based on the almost opposite objectives. When you have a horse that doesn't like to pick up his front feet, he may be thinking that you're playing King of the Hill with him. The horse that picks up his feet for you may think that he's losing the game. This in turn might cause him not to be submissive because he really wants to win by not picking up his foot. If he strikes or paws when you are trying to clean his feet, this is a message of hierarchy. He considers himself higher in the herd order. Therefore, he doesn't agree to losing the game or losing his herd status. Reverse psychology works well with these horses. Take time to have the conversation a stallion would with the mare to sort it out.
Thank you, Nancy. Danuta?
Conversation. Please do pick up your feet. 1. Place both hands on either side of one of your horse's front legs, as if you were holding a sandwich. Stroke down the leg without asking him to pick up the hoof. Use long strokes from the shoulder on down. This indicates that you really don't want him to pick up his hoof. A conversation the horse understands. If he does lift the foot, don't clean it out with the hoof pick. Stay with the conversation you've started. Eventually, do ask for his hoof to lift with a touch on the chestnut. Circle the foot gently in an up and around motion. Massage the ankle and the fetlock. Scratch the bulbs of the heels. Put the foot back down and go back to stroking his leg as in step 2. In no time, you will change the conversation from one of hierarchy to one of cooperation. The next part of going somewhere includes the horse's front feet. It is not necessary to rush into this phase, however. If you are having a good conversation about moving his face over and he is lowering his head, yawning, relaxing, or holding his face very still in the away position, he is clearly not only understanding that you are talking to him using horse speak, but he is adjusting his ideas about you and softening up inside him as well. Move your feet over and mid-neck button. What you now want to include with the go away face button is the mid-neck button, which is located on the lower part of the muscle part of his neck. And if you resist this, you can try the shoulder button. See page 38. Both these locations are buttons that mean move your front feet over. These are methods of sending. How to choose between them? Amongst horses, the most available button in relation to the position is used. Conversation. Move your feet over. Some horses move their front feet over better from pointing your pointy finger into the neck, and others are more willing from the point of the shoulder. Whichever works best is fine, but you must include go away face button on the cheek that you have already practiced. Stand at your horse's neck facing him and ask him to move his front end over. At this juncture, you should be able to stay at 0, hold an attitude of curiosity, and be willing to talk to your horse about how he would feel about politely moving his front feet to the side, along with yielding his face. Between horses, this is a more demonstrative sort of bubble respect, and can even create a squabble over the hay pile. It is not uncommon for a horse to be concerned that you are going to squabble with him and become pushy. That is why it is important to only ask for a tiny step, return to 0, and even blow another sentry breath, or simply breathe in a manner to show him that you are only asking for a new bubble conversation, not a confrontation. When you can ask for him to yield to the go away face button and move his front feet over too, and he is beginning to realize that you are in fact still just talking to him, not trying to force something or teach something that he already knows, he should start to relax his face, drop his head, and breathe more deeply. These things say that he is understanding you. Try not to drill, but to repeat the conversation in intervals until you feel that you are asking from a place of 0 with curiosity and care, and he is responding from an interested and more respectful point of view. What you are telling him is the same thing his mother told him in the birthing stall. You and I have to move around each other in this little space. I will set it up so that we are both in good bubbles, so no one gets stepped on. Follow my lead, and all will be well.
Thank you, PJ. And if you could just read the green box on the next page also, and don't read beyond core energy.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beckoning and O posture. Next, you can try stepping backward and inviting his face and front feet to step toward you. Again, you're still influencing the horse's face and neck and forehand, but now you're practicing beckoning. You do this by rounding your shoulders, bringing your hands together in front of your belly, and holding your hands in a welcoming position. Your overall body shape will be in an O. Taking the shape of an O is welcoming, and we universally and unconsciously perform this body language when patting our thighs to call a dog or reach down to welcome our toddler onto our laps. By using a beckoning O posture, we tell the greeting button on the horse's muzzle to come to us. Again, you're only influencing the front end of the horse. This is important to remember at this time because the horse's front end is used most often during any conflicts amongst the herd. Horses drive the forehand away in big conflicts, sometimes causing the weaker member to perform a rollback to move as fast as possible away from the aggressor. In a conflict, the neck and shoulder buttons are the most targeted, and if the conflict is between two defensive stallions, then the scuffle involves more buttons in battle. It is natural for horses to be concerned that giving us access to these buttons means we could be aggressive with them. This is why it's so important to talk to them calmly and try to convey the fact that if they will allow us to use the buttons wisely, including the fact that we are offering to be their sentry and watch out for them, we will gain respect from deep inside the horse's very being. This is far different from the mechanical, external behavior learned through much traditional training, and that only mimics the idea of respect. Conversation, greet, send away, and beckon back with the O posture. Use your knuckle touch on the greeting button to just check in or say hello. Use the go away face button with the mid neck or shoulder button to move your horse's front feet over. Beckon your horse back with the O posture. Remember, beckoning welcomes the front end to return to us. It's a good idea to include a check-in knuckle touch as a greeting when the horse responds. Reverse gear and X posture. When you want the horse to yield space by moving back, rather than just moving his head or front feet to the side, you can use the button on the front of the horse's shoulder Sharon calls the backup button. The button is low on the outside of the shoulder, located where the very top of the leg comes into the shoulder muscle. There is an inverted triangle indentation here, and you can help identify this. That can help you identify this button. Touching it can make a horse flinch. Fighting stallions try to hit this button with their front hooves. The sidebar, X's and O's in practice. Sharon had one student who was extremely excited about learning about her X and O and the profound effect they had on her mare. Her horse was standing nearby as Sharon's student was telling Sharon about her experience in a very animated manner. As she talked, her posture became decidedly more of an X. After a few minutes, her mare began dropping her head lower and lower, her ears flopping, to the side as she gazed up at her owner's face. After the mare had blown a breath out her nose for the third time, Sharon could stand it no longer and pointed out that the mare was asking her human to please calm down. Sharon's student stopped mid-sentence, laughed heartily, and adopted a dramatic O posture. The mare instantly lifted her head to greet her owner's knuckle touch, lipping the woman's hand affectionately, as if to say, "There, there, dear, try to stay calm. There's a good girl."
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the readers today. That completes our portion of the reading. So we'll pick up next week on core energy. So there's a lot of good information here this week. And one of the things, just for future pacing, we have evolved the go away face button to the cheek button. And so it's funny, the story behind the go away face button is Sharon was watching a mama and a foal, and the mama just kept going at the cheek and many, many times over, because the baby kept bringing his face back into mama's face. And Sharon, she's got quite a sense of humor. She's just like, "Go away face, baby," so that's where that stemmed from. And then some people over time were like, "I don't want to tell my horse to go out of my space," things of that nature. So we evolved to just calling it the cheek button. So there's that. And again, if you have any questions or comments, you can put it in the chat or raise your virtual hand and I will get to you. I do see the one question in the chat currently. The one main point that I wanted to make sure people realize is, one, make sure if there is really a sentry, like, you acknowledge it and you might blow, and then swish your tail, all done, and then let it go. Because sometimes we forget to say, "I see what's going on. I'm looking," and then we don't say, "All's clear." So, and if they don't believe our "all's clear" message, then there could be really something going on in the environment. So we might want to take it a next level and go walk around to make sure that there is, there isn't something really wrong in the environment. So then also scanning the horizon is such an important thing, and we don't have to make it highly dramatic, because we can just be like, "Hey, let's go over there." And if you're in our webinar that we're doing, your horse's first teacher, which we are analyzing mother and foal videos, and Sharon is really talking about, basically horse speak from the beginning when the foal hits the ground, and how mama is teaching about bubbles, boundaries, buttons, things of that nature. So one of the things is that using the bridge of the nose, which is a button that's in the third book, but more of a question. "Hey, what's over there?" And we do that also. We'll say, "Hey, yeah, it's over there. Go get my keys, please." So we can be like, "Yeah, what's over there?" "Oh, it's nothing." And that's, if you're able to see me, I'm putting my nose up in the air, And then I'm pausing for a moment and then going into my X posture and then going down into my O, taking a breath. Oh, all's clear. Nothing is happening. Little tail swish by the thigh. I can't demonstrate that clearly because I'm sitting in a chair, but um, so that is one of the things that I wanted to mention about the scan the horizon and sentry. Also, the go away face button, the cheek button, is the magic button. We're calling it now one of the master buttons because it's one that we use frequently. So if you do have a space invader, and the horse, you're really having a problem with keeping my lane, your lane, keeping your palm at the cheek, defining your personal space as you're leading this is an X posture. It's a light X. And then if you drop your hand, then that's an O posture, and that is inviting the horse in. So this is a fundamental thing that is so important to particular horses. So it's just something to pay attention to. Again, we're teaching a language, and every horse and every human combination is different. So we invite you to try different things to see if that works for you and your horse partner. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to note, picking up feet. I love the exercise that Sharon has put in the book. And if we are picking up feet, we could say, hey, bridge of the nose, tap your bridge of the nose, your own bridge of the nose, and tap your horse's bridge of the nose if you can touch the bridge of the nose, because some horses are like, don't please touch my nose. Be like, what foot would you like me to start with? That's one option, because they might, we get into patterns. I need to start with the left front foot, period. But that might not be the horse preference. They might want you to start with the back feet. So to be open to what your horse would like. And the second thing would be noticing how your horse is standing. Where is all of the weight? They have 4 feet. They could be heavy on the forehand or heavy on the hind end, or they could be putting all their weight on the right front foot. So noticing what foot and the weight distribution can then help you have more success, because then you're saying, hey, I would like you to pick up your left front foot. I see that you have all your weight on this particular foot. Can I help you adjust your weight so therefore it's easier for you to pick up the foot? So it's just a little thing that you can notice because, again, they're 1,000-pound animals, or the range of weight that equines are. And so therefore they need a moment. They're not like dogs. They're not doing things quickly. They need to be like, oh yes, I need to adjust myself in order to respond to your request. So let me see. I'm going to get into the chat. Just a second. One of the questions was, how do I say thank you? And thank you, just as taking a breath. Oh, thank you. And also taking a step away. Breath and space is a way to say, yes, you've got it. Thank you very much. And you could also do a little tail swish as well. We want to practice having a deeper, breathier verbal language with them. At first, Sharon doesn't want us to talk to our horses verbally, because she wants us to focus on our body language primarily. But I can say to Rocky, cheek, neck, shoulder, come to me, hug 180 or something, and he will do it. Or go away, cheek, and point from a distance. So when we are able to be clear with our intention, then verbal cues like talking to the buttons. Dakota, she's blind, our Appaloosa mare. It's amazing. And we actually we have a camera, and that you can be like the voice of God, and you can talk through the camera. And we were having a clinic, and Dakota was having a tough time. And one of the ladies who has access to my camera was able to talk to Dakota through the buttons to help her relax. And it was amazing. So, and Dakota was familiar with this person's voice. So therefore it was familiarity in that too, but being able to say, hey, follow me, wither, sit, meaning follow me, feel better at the wither, sit down, take a load off. There's nothing to worry about. She was able to relax because we had taken her littles, our little donkey herd, into the indoor arena, and Dakota is the babysitter. So we were able to help her feel better. Let's see here. As a reminder, we converse through or use the cheek button to talk about the safety of space. The horse needs to know that we are aware how important space is to them. I like to think of space as being currency to the horse. We can buy a lot of it. Thank you, PJ. And PJ is one of our mentors in the Horse Speak program, in the certification program. So she has a lot of expertise in our language system. She's been with us for about 8 years. So thank you for that, adding that in. Thinking a horse could be giving them space as well as stepping away. Yes, thank you, Nancy, for bringing that in. The space is the only thing a horse owns. So the more that we can give breath and space, the more that we're honoring the fact that they only own their bubble, and that's it. So space is a beautiful reward. Even approaching a horse, stopping 10 feet outside their bubble of personal space, breathing, pausing, giving them a chance to know that you're coming into their space. They sometimes will leave their hay and come to you. So it's just a cool thing to try also. It is amazing how perceptive, the horses are. We have a neighbor who rides through our property all the time, and several times when I'm speaking with my horses, they pick up their head and look toward the woods. I will do a sentry and then an O and shake tail, and then I realize they are still looking. A few minutes later, I see my friend riding up. Absolutely, right? They're just like, no, actually, there's something going on in the woods. So again, like I started talking about the sentry, yeah, it's like if they're not letting it go with your your responses to them, then there's could be something in the woods, like a horse being ridden. So cool. I love that story. Thank you for sharing. So if the horse's weight is on the right front foot, you'd ask him to move the left front. Correct. Yes. And also you might want them to lean back a little bit too, depending on how the weight distribution is to the hind end, because the more they can sit back into their hips, then the front feet are more liberated to be able to hold their weight. So yes, absolutely. Funny story, I wasn't home yesterday when my horse's barefoot trimmer came to trim the horses. When I got home and was out cleaning the paddock, my gelding kept following me around, pawing once or twice, then picking up his left front foot. The third time he did it, I realized he was saying, "Hey, I got my feet cleaned, but I didn't get my peanut butter pretzels." After I gave him his pretzels, he stopped following me around. That's so funny. You've created a pattern with them, with the feet, that you get pretzel reward at the end. And he's like, "Hey, you weren't home. I did my thing. Look at how beautiful my toes look. And please may I have my peanut butter pretzel." That's so fun. I love that. Horses love patterns. So it's predictable. Ollie, who is the particular horse that's being spoken of here, he knows his reward after getting his toes done is a pretzel. So he's like, "Mom, you forgot. I need my present after I was a good boy for the trimmer." So that's the thing. Whatever we're doing with horses, we have a webinar called Power of the Patterns. If you go to our site, you can check it out. And basically, we created this last year, and I took all of our horses, at the time we had 6, into the indoor arena, and I made it predictable. I had my chessboard set up a certain way, and every single time we did the same thing. So then I knew what we were doing, so I didn't have to think, what are we doing today? And then they started knowing what we were doing. And then each time we went in, we were able to have a deeper conversation because they knew, okay, the chessboard is this way. It just became more and more predictable. So then we could have more advanced conversations rather than problem solving the chessboard. There's the spooky corner. Like, how can we just take into account the their number one priority is safety, 100%. If they don't feel safe, they won't be able to do the things we're asking for them. So if they're constantly doing sentry, then we're like, what's up with the environment? Or is it there's an external boogeyman, or it could be an internal boogeyman. Because say, for example, you're putting on a saddle, everything's great, and then all of a sudden you bring out the bridle and the horse is like, whoa, sentry, something's going on. So that possibly could be an internal boogeyman about the bridle. So it's, one of our mottos is what happened before, during, and after. So, okay, so bridle. Are you not feeling good about the bridle today? Is this a mental misunderstanding? Is this a physical misunderstanding? So we can ask questions. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about teaching horse speak is how we can why is this happening? Why did you paw your foot, for example, with the story about Ollie wanting his reward? And by recognizing, oh yeah, he had his feet done. The pattern is reward of pretzels. Then you can problem solve, or it's anything that we can do, because they're direct line thinkers. And that is the coolest thing, that horses are truly trying to talk to us about their needs, wants, and desires. And when we can start to understand their body is talking to us and with us, they are talking about themselves, their environment, the other horses, and about ourselves too. So sometimes, let's see, there was that, so with Heidi's comment about the woods, and she's like, I got sentry, I got into O posture, and they're like, nope, really, there's something going on. And then it's like, yeah, there's horses in the woods. The house is on fire, for metaphorically speaking. We can't do anything else until the horses are, come through the yard and they leave and everything is feeling good. So it's really amazing. The other day, actually, we were in a meeting and all of a sudden it was like a bomb went off, an earthquake, something. And we're like, what just happened? Because the whole house shook. And I started doing inventory and I'm checking things out. No trees fell on the house. I look out to the horses. I see Rocky. He's looking out over there, but none of the other horses are running, being scared, anything of that nature. So we're like, maybe there was an earthquake. Did some research, no earthquake, so we're like, okay, I guess we're fine. Sometimes people in the area do set off bombs or shoot guns or weird things. People hunt and, we are in New Hampshire and they do things like this. And so after a few hours, we left the property. And then at the end of our road, barely half a mile, away, there was all these safety crews and it looked like there was a fire. And then more research happened. Yes, there was a fire and things of that nature. Come to find out, we did go to the location because it's literally right over there. The automotive place that I get my car repaired at burned to the ground because a propane tank exploded. So it was just like, yes, there was a disturbance in the force. Rocky was aware. He stayed on sentry for a bit, but none of the other horses were triggered because he had it. There was this shockwave through the ground, but he was like, yep, I'm going to keep watching, but he didn't run or anything of that nature. So it's just really neat to pay attention to what they're paying attention to, because there can actually be, disturbance in the force. Should you continue doing sentry if you notice they are still concerned? What I would do is walk toward the direction in which they're looking to really take them serious. So, because if you blow, like, I'm going to say two things. One thing is, yes, go investigate. It's like, come with me, take your sentry with you, be like, let's go and look at it. Can we come and touch the fence line? This is safe, like observably, this immediate environment, like making that safe. and then going to investigate until they might let it go. And the other thing I want to say about sentry, don't just blow sentry for the sake of blowing sentry, because we have had folks like just, hey, blow a big sentry and actually startle their horse. And this actually occurred while they're riding. And so they scared the heck out of their horse while they were riding. So if scanning the horizon is a lower level of checking out the environment. So it's really important to make sure that you are scanning and letting go, or doing sentry and letting go by tail swishing, breathing out, everything is safe. And then, yes, taking it to another level to check it out. And if you can't take the horse with you in the environment, then go for a little walk and just check it out and touch the fence and things of that nature to see if they can let go of it. And if there's horses, in the woods, then they might not be able to let it go until they see the horses. And if you go to the wood line and be like, hey, yeah, it's the horses. Hey, look, I see our friend is coming through the woods. You're acknowledging it, and they might find that believable enough to let it go also. Let's see here, just a second. Remember to offer the all's clear signal after you're done with your sentry. Yes, that's so important to this message, because blowing sentry, and if you stay like that, you're still concerned. So making sure, sighing, breath out, all's clear, little bit of a tail swish by your thigh. It's so crucial. Let's see. Yes, all clear, palm down, calm down. So we can also offer follow me. So in the air, we can go like circling in above their follow me button, and then down the bridge of the nose, all's clear, down. Or we can go over follow me, feel better with her, all the way down to the sit. Let's take a load off. Sit down, take a load off. I've got your back. So the top line, talking to the top line. Let's release our stress by lowering the top line. And sometimes also thinking about the jump up button, vulnerability. I see you're feeling vulnerable. I get it. I've got your back. Let's sit down. So it's like once you learn about the topics in which each button represents, then yeah, you can verbally say, follow me down, and having that down voice into your belly versus follow me down. That doesn't feel relaxing. That's more stress. Okay. So if you have that tendency to get chattery and notice that your head is starting to explode while you're talking, then you're up in your head. Your energy isn't going into your belly. Okay. It's all about getting our energy into our pelvis to have that energy drop. So then our energy is flowing and not being stuck at our throat. So I'm going to thank you for your comments. I'm going to circle back up and see. Light bulb moment. Oftentimes, Riley does a huge sentry breath. I have usually taken it as him being afraid, and he may be. Although I am realizing my reaction will be different if I think of it as him just telling me there's something to be looked at. I'm excited to see if we can change the situation. I feel like it is a conversation, not as much fear. I know when he is fearful, I get more anxious. Yeah, he could be like, hey, mom, just let you know there's something to be worried about, but not as like, oh my God, we have to get out of here. It's like, warning, So cool, Ducka. I'm looking forward to having a follow-up with you about that to see if you notice a difference. What if the horse is worried about something that is definitely there, but it's not really dangerous, like two people standing by a car 100 feet away talking? So then you would go and take a walk and say, yes, I see those people are talking. They're not coming to get us. Tail swish, there's nothing to be worried about. So talking out loud creates the congruency, so therefore we can be more believable. And there's ranges of how horses, take disturbances in their environment. We had one horse, he got so scared of the motorcycle next door to the point where the gal had to every day, this is safe, this is safe, this is safe. So if this has become a pattern for your horse, then starting your day off, don't even tail swish your horse and just make the environment safe first and foremost, and then start the conversation. So every couple posts, this is safe, and keep walking the entire buffer zone. We talk about the different zones of an environment in the patterns webinar. So then you claim the buffer zone, the protector is there in that space next to the fence. And so if it is a repeated thing, like with the gal with the motorcycle, she literally realized actually that the motorcycle was triggering to her because she had put it on YouTube, a sound of a motorcycle, and realized her nervous system was getting hijacked. So she first had to get used to the sound of the darn motorcycle. And then she was able to say, hey, horse, let's work on this together. I'm going to help you feel better about motorcycle noises. And they got over it. And so now, because he literally hurt himself because he got so afraid of the darn motorcycle next door. So we have just a couple moments left. I'm going to get through these rest of the chats, and then we're going to finish our day together. I actually met a new neighbor that way. Horses wouldn't let go of Sentry, and I walked all the way to the edge of the pasture. A new neighbor was trimming bushes in their woods. I started talking to her, and the horses went back to the hay. Yeah, you took it seriously. You went over there and be like, oh yeah, this is fine. It's our new neighbor. That's great. It's amazing that when you can see, find, scanning the horizon, my horse kept looking when in and out, and for a few days toward the neighbor's property. I finally saw that what he was looking at, two new horses that were very tiny to me. I told him, I see them. That's what you were looking at, and did the O automatically as I looked at him and at him as I said it. Awesome, Emily. That's great. And when you said sit, my dog sat. Excellent. I'm glad that I was able to help you with your dogs, PJ. That's funny, especially if it was Freddie who actually took a seat too. So that winds us down for today. I appreciate you being here with us. And it was just a beautiful understanding of talking about the front end going somewhere, because we do want to do stuff with our horses. So we want to give you the gift that the horses gave to Sharon, which is the exact and specific nuances of how our body language can communicate, if I could communicate clearly with horses. And we all need all we need to do is put the time in. And that is one of the things I can't stress enough about learning. This is a language course, and that the more time you put into it, the more you're going to benefit from it. And this is a thing that some folks do get frustrated in the learning curve because it does take time. So if you would like to learn more about being with us in person or online, check out our website, horsespeakacademy.com. The best value for your money investment is joining our video club. We're going to be meeting in a couple hours. It's a profound way to learn horse speak, but we do offer online courses that are a year long or 3 months. And we will be, we have a certification program if this is something you want to be adding to your professional world. Please come and check us out. You have a requirement of doing the EMS year-long program before you can start the certification program, and we do webinars and things of that nature. So may you enjoy the journey of learning horse speak and have fun while doing so. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you the same time, same place next week. Take care, and I love you.